Hi there, welcome back. How are you today? So in this beautiful video, I wanted to address part of a comment that had come through. And I don't know what's happening with the comments, to be honest, because in my email, I found this comment, but then when I went online on my YouTube channel, the comment wasn't there. But this beautiful person was gracious enough to send me an email with the same comment. So I managed to read it during my holiday, but there was something that stood out from this gorgeous comment that I wanted to share in this video. And that is when we go through hard times and our family ditches us, how do we cope? So, you know, what was coming up for me, I was remembering when I'd gone through IVF. And for me, it went horribly wrong. I ended up with ovarian hyperstimulation. I ended up in the hospital quite ill. My husband was sure, I wasn't coming out. You know, it went so bad. I was in there for 2 weeks. And there was a night that I thought I wasn't going to get through the night. And I remember that night, one of my students, I had an adult student doing piano at the time, and I didn't know that his daughter was a nurse. And throughout that night, I was so ill that they were monitoring me every hour. She would come and check all my vitals. And when I saw her tag with her name, I said, "You're not, this person's daughter, are you? He's not your dad." And she said, "Yes, he is." And in that moment that I realized that she was, my student's daughter, I knew I was going to get through that night. I don't know how, but it was like, for me, it was a sign, that I was going to get through that night. But there were so many more nights after that. And for me, that time in the hospital was one of the hardest times I've been through, because I didn't have any family around me. I had my husband, who'd been there, who has always been there. I had my mother-in-law. I had my neighbor. She was constantly there for me. But my closest family was nowhere to be seen. They all disappeared. My parents had gone back to South America, and they weren't aware. To be honest and to be fair to my parents, I never told them what was going on because they were far away and I didn't want them to worry. There was nothing they could do. What was the point? What are they going to do? Jump on a plane and come out to see me? And I looked awful, I didn't want to put them through that. Somehow within me, even though there were a few nights that I thought, I'm not going to make it through this night, deep down, I had a feeling I was going to get through it. I was going to be okay at the end of it. But it was that feeling of, I did have family here in Australia. And they knew I was in the hospital. And none of them showed up. And then there was the moment that I had my baby shower. And my closest cousin didn't come. And I had been to hers. A few years prior to that, 3 years, I think the 3 years difference between them. But she didn't come. There's been lots of those moments where you had a whole lifetime with these beings, with family, with cousins, parents, or whatever it is. And then when you're going through the hardest times in your life, they're not there. And how do you get through that? How do you cope? So, for me, I know it was after the IVF and I lost that first baby that I went into depression. And I blamed it on all that, that the people you love the most aren't there for you. and all of these excuses that I had, for how I was feeling. But it was really because I'd spent my whole life waiting to be a mother, only to lose the very first baby that I ever had inside me. It was my grief. It was my way of grieving, was to feel anger for all these beings that I felt should have been in my life at the time, but they weren't. And in one of my happiest moments, my beautiful baby shower that my friend held for me, my closest cousin didn't come. And I had been there for her when she was pregnant, when she had her baby. I went to the hospital to see her. I was at her baby shower. I was there, And she had family all around her. She's always had her parents with her. She has her sister here. She wasn't in my situation that my parents had gone back to South America and I was here by myself. She had all her family around her, her direct family. So to me, that was heartbreaking at the time. I felt my heart was broken, And then there's been many other things after that have happened. But what this video was about is honoring the path of each individual. What I did find with time is, yes, my family wasn't there for me when I needed them the most. I had my husband. He was always by my side, always, through all of it. I had my mother-in-law. She was always there. She was the reason I was able to do the IVF. She gave us the money so that we could at least try. But what I noticed was that others stepped in. I had friends that we'd only just been friends in the last 3 or 4 years. They weren't friends that I'd had from childhood. They were relatively new friends. And they came to the hospital. And when I had my baby, it was that friend that did the baby shower for me. Other beings will step in when you need. You are never left on your own. It's just that we expect that our loved ones, our closest, our family, is who will be there every step of the way. But we need to remember that they have their own path. And what I've noticed is that as you evolve and you step into higher frequencies and you step into your path, you know who you are and your purpose, why you're here, you will begin to attract new beings into your life. And sometimes our beautiful family just doesn't keep up with us. It can't stay with us because we are now vibrating at a different frequency. And they are not here to be in that frequency. With time, when I began to awaken, and I'd written my 3rd book by then, I'd finished writing Easy Mind, Easy Life. My beautiful friend from New Zealand, by chance, came back into my life 25 years later. We hadn't spoken for 25 years. And then by all these coincidences and synchronicities, I found her again. And we were walking the same path. And one of the things she was sharing with me yesterday was that for so long she felt so alone. And I know exactly what she meant because I was the same. I felt so alone in this world. And as you begin to awaken and move into higher frequencies, and you begin to look within more and more and more, you find for a while you will feel alone, like you are the only one. People start to drop off. Friends start to drop off. Family starts to drop off. They no longer serve your path. They're no longer part of it, and you are no longer part of theirs, because where you need to go, they can't go. And I knew the moment I started talking to her again that I was never alone. There's always been someone there. It's just sometimes it's not the people we expect. But look at this beautiful community that we have here. If you resonate with these beautiful videos, if you resonate with this information, look at all the beautiful people that this information is attracting, that no longer needs to feel alone, because we're all on the same frequency. We're all on the same path. As you evolve, as you step into higher frequencies, you will attract beings in the same frequencies. You know, to be fair, one of the reasons my closest cousin and I had, I guess, a falling out, if you want to call it that. It's not really a falling out. I know if I call her, we'll chat and everything's fine. You know, we have that kind of connection. But when she got married to the partner that she has now, we would go to their gatherings, we would go to their birthdays, and we would go to spend Christmases with them. And I would find his family so chaotic. The vibration was so low that I couldn't stand to be there. I couldn't explain it. But every time I left and I came back home, I felt so grateful for the life I have. In me, there was this yearning for a peace, this blissful peace. And when you begin to choose that, you begin eliminating all the things that take you away from that peace. It becomes so important to you to stay in this vibration, especially when you've had a whole lifetime of being angry, of being in the low vibration, of being in guilt and shame and not good enough, all of that. You treasure so much being in peace, being at peace, that you don't want anything to disturb that. And it's not out of selfishness. It's not because I didn't love her, but it's because I no longer needed that. I had already grown up with that my whole life, and I was done with that. But she wasn't. This is her path, this is her experience, and I learnt with time to accept that I'm not part of that journey anymore. And I had to let go and allow, as we spoke of in so many videos, allow them to have their experience. If this is what they came to experience, no judgment. It's just not what I want anymore. I remember the day I went to see her beautiful baby at the hospital. She'd just been born. And his family was there passing her around. And I remember her mother-in-law saying, "See, isn't this much better than your dogs?" And in my heart, I felt at the time, why can't you love both? Why does one exclude the other? Or why do you have to love one more than the other? Why is one worth more than the other? All these things were going through my mind, and I felt like saying something at the time. But I didn't want to disgrace my cousin because this was her new family. I didn't want to embarrass her. I didn't want to say something that would put her in an uncomfortable position with them. This was her family. This was her choice. But I couldn't help thinking at the time, how small is your heart? That you only have room for one thing. And I know, because the moment my daughter was born, if anything, it created more love for my dogs. Watching them interact with her and seeing the incredible unconditional love that they have for her made me love them even more. So in this beautiful video, what we wish to bring forward is that we have expectations of our family. There is a conditioning within us that they need to meet certain expectations. But in this video, we are here to remind you that these beings have their own path. And it may not be parallel to your path. They may not be here to walk the same path as you. They may be here to live their human experience completely, still engrossed in not being good enough, still engrossed in being less than, still engrossed in whatever it is that they are experiencing. It is beautiful and it is perfect, just as it is. It is not your path. So as we said with the beautiful video of let them have their experience and focus on yours. Focus on what it is that you wish to experience. And know that as you vibrate higher and higher and higher, there will be beings there to meet you where you're at. I promise you, you will never be alone. We had that beautiful conversation with my friend yesterday. We couldn't believe that after 25 years, when we would start to walk our spiritual path, that we would find each other again and that we would both be on the same path. And if you are here and this information resonates with you, we are here together walking the same path. You are not alone in any moment, ever. And sometimes I feel like when I had my first depression and there was so much darkness in my heart, and I cried. I think I started crying and I didn't stop crying for about 1.5 years or more. Could have been up to 2 years. And I was surrounded by family. I had my parents. I was living in my parents' home. I had my boyfriend. I had my cousins, my aunts. When the birthdays came, we had at least 20 to 30 people show up. Family, all family. I always had family around me. And yet, in my time here on earth, I've never felt so alone in all my life. But I was surrounded by family. The reason I felt so alone was because I felt like I was speaking a language that no one understood. I felt like I was speaking a different language. I had all this love in my heart to give, and nobody wanted it. It wasn't so much that I wanted to feel loved by these beings around me. It was that my heart was overflowing with love and it had nowhere to go. And in that moment, at that time. This intense sadness just swept over me. I couldn't see the point of my life. I couldn't see the point of my existence. So I understand, when I see people that take their own lives, I understand the sadness that drives you to that moment, because I spent so many nights praying to be taken. So many nights, please let this be my time. But because I was Catholic, I'd been brought up in the Catholic Church at that time. As much as I contemplated suicide, it didn't feel right. But I get it. I get it, because sometimes the pain is so unbearable that one more moment being here is just... So you see, having family, not having family. If you are meant to go through something and no one around you is going through the same, you will always feel alone. Always. And it is part of the journey. All right, my beautiful beings. I love you guys. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And if there are any of you out there that feel this darkness in your heart, that feel this overwhelming sadness, know that with time it will pass. It will pass. All right, my beautiful beings. I love you guys. Oh, remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.